vamos para las preguntas. Graças a todos por esse belo vídeo, não?
Thank you all for this beautiful video.
Bien. Al final de la charla vamos hacer
Well, at the end
mantras de
of the
participação de todos.
sharing, we'll have a live presentation of canticles, and we will watch this live here also.
Antes de empezar com o tema,
Before we begin with the theme,
digamos, nos três pedidos,
the last theme of the three requests, let us understand the context.
a hierarquia, ser
Almost 40 years ago,
chamado Saruma,
an awakened and elevated being called Saruma began a very important
início acá,
planetary task.
Capilla del Monte,
This happened here in this region of Capilla del Monte.
vamos ver o motivo desse impulso em idioma Irdin, para que podamos
It had
isso.
Irdin name, and let us see the reason for this. And the idea of this lecture, we will understand with the question, is to collaborate in this inner awakening, what we are looking for, how we are looking for, and the traps that eventually are on our path that we could avoid. Someone is asking something here that could be interesting to all of us. What is the engine of our opening to spiritual path? First of all, what we call spiritual path for the world is very broad. In practices, literature, history, religions, it's something very broad. But in this context, we are dealing with our inner search, awakening within us what is within us. Those who are generally in this search has not begun this in this lifetime, but in other incarnations, and now they are finding again the point they have stopped at and resuming that which they stopped for some reason. And oftentimes, correcting myself, at each incarnation we have a sort of amnesia. We forget all of this, and it's as if we were beginning from scratch, and we put our foot on this path. We decide to go through a serious path when we are sick or when we get tired. It's very difficult for our human being. Let us observe each one of us what is to renounce to human condition and to go to something more profound. This touches somewhere a renunciation that has the impression of emptiness, as if we were going to lose something. There is something important in the sense, which is, if we begin to understand how we are, why we are, if without trying to change this artificially, for sure by itself, it will transform itself. Because you see, there is a human situation which is ambition. And if we have ambition for the spiritual path, whatever reason or whatever it is on the spiritual path, to experience a state of consciousness that does not correspond to us in this moment in our inner state, sooner or later we will experience very disharmonious things. So if we begin to understand what we are without trying to change it artificially, this will go through a maturing, and sooner or later this will change by itself. It's not the same as having things loose, but leave it entirely. The thing is that eventually we as searchers, we don't deepen into the present moment. We look for something beyond that which would correspond to us at this moment. So the stairs are a little disorganized. We don't manage to have a firm, steady, solid, consistent foundation to take our next step. And the risk is that we get very restricted on one side, and on the other hand, we progress a lot. Therefore, we don't manage to concentrate the energy on a health path, but we restrict on one hand and very permissive on the other hand. Therefore, the engine of our path should be aspiration, this serene, calm posture or attitude to serve, to evolve. This would lead us to a more secure path. And there is a saying that says, ambitious man tends to be the one who they are really. Let us reflect on this. The ambitious human being tends to be the one they really are. We perfectly know that we are not that which we want to appear to be. and we do not manage to sustain what we appear to be. So this place of being present, just as we are, and we are at this moment, places us in a state of consciousness we call humility, that is to accept life just as it is, as it comes, because the condition that brought us to this moment is very complex. Karmas, habituary decisions. But if we are not in the present escapes, and we create a character that seems in an ambitious way something of spirituality, but in the first crisis, the first wind, all of this falls down. So it's very interesting to work on humility. Another question that someone brought here is interesting, says, what is the limit between personal love and love for evolution, or self-love and love for evolution? The line is very soft between personal love and the beauty of inner path, which the planetary center of X brings, is that there is a process of inner transformation to awaken in the deepening of the search. And as this process suscitates in us love for the process itself rather than the result of the process. Oftentimes, in an environment based on ambition, we forget the process, to live the process, to give consistency through love. So this gets adhered to us. So a key that we can have in our consciousness is to live this in an anonymous way, an internal way, and be very careful so that our personality, our more human part, kidnaps this for itself humanly, and we may have the trap of falling in a process of exhibiting this to others. Who hasn't experienced this? Someone wants to show themselves as a spiritual being who knows this and that, but in truth, they are not living it. Therefore, this care to be anonymous and love this, that we are living and doing, whatever point we are, doesn't matter. For the universe, the point we are, if it corresponds to us, it's the point that corresponds to us. And this love for the process, better saying, deters, in the good sense, the energies and states that we experience throughout this path, which will be necessary later on, when we will need to face some tests, some crisis, let us call it, and if we do not love each step, each stage of this path, at some point this will be empty. And when the wind comes, we will doubt about this path. The last question says, how to know if we are on the path of discovering something beyond that which we know, or if we are crystallized? It's a good question also. Let us do a practice that is very simple, because then we won't stay with the imagination. Let us place ourselves present at this moment and how we are interpreting, criticizing, or not what we are sharing here. And this filter is the same that filters the higher energies, because if we are here open so that something constructive, evolutionary may happen, I'm based on judgment, a filter, a lens that does not allow me to enter and see what they try to generate here. If my search is based on that which is known, what we dominate or believe that we dominate, if we are conditioned by these prejudices, And if we don't glimpse the creativity of the universe that could present itself in different ways, not in forms, but essentially. So when we believe that we really know something, we are very sure of this, we have to be vigilant, because right away we will block a process of showing a little bit more than that which we believe we know. This is why in Eastern disciplines, they emphasize very much detachment and love for that which is unknown. So we should commune of the expansion of our consciousness. The fact of knowing something as information does not make us more evolved or mature, but the much we live this knowledge or information, because many people have knowledge but do not apply their knowledge, so they are not evolved. This information is not in their personal life, the personal experience. So let us go to the subject of today, message of hope according to X, and the 3 requests. So when Trigueirinho meets Saruma, as I mentioned at the beginning, something spiritual happened there, and it was offered to Trigueirinho to ask, to make 3 requests. So we will have the link of a book in the chat of the transmission, the book called Signs of Contact, the lecture, and also the book. And then the 3 requests are there. The 3 requests are: the first request, in the first person speaking, Trigueirinho. First, that I would never cease to be accepted for service to the evolutionary plan. Second request, that all those who walk the path with me might evolve together. And the third request, that the light and love of cosmic beings might always be present whenever I may be found working for the plan. So this is a message of hope, because there lies a very important code there, which is the code of selflessness, which is a value, to say it in some way, one of the values of the 4th dimension of our soul, which breaks the vicious cycle of the ego, always working over its own evolution, its process, its crisis. So the ego is always there in the center. So we cannot disconnect from this ego, but we can educate the ego so that it can understand. And therefore, selflessness breaks this process of these vicious circles of being always in the center of ourselves. So let us see X as a planetary center, so that later on we can understand what is the most important when we are under the vibration of this planetary center, this theme of spiritual evolution. I have made a lecture, I believe it was in July 2024, sorry, it was later on, that speaks of the sacred enclosures of the planet. It's on the channel of Irdin Publishing. We mention more than 25 points of light that work on the planet, such as X, and those who want to know more about this can watch this lecture, it's available. So when Saruma presented to Trigueirinho everything that could happen in X, correcting myself, the potential that X has to work with humanity, he called this place Ikishamuaika. There is no translation from Irdin language, but there is the vibration of Ikishamuaika, which means the elected place. So this X Valley is a very broad region in the Córdoba province. It centers the work of the Planetary Center of X, which is a part of a group of many retreats, enclosures on different levels of concentration of the superphysical life of the planet, but X has a very specific function, and this is why I chose this title for this lecture, a message of hope for humanity at this delicate moment for all of us. One of the things that is very important that the Planetary Center of X develops is the preparation for future humanity. So everything that is the seed for a new humanity, the beginning of a thought, the principle of reconnection with the cosmos, the principle of new education, principle of new spirituality, rescue, deepening of what, evolution of the other kingdoms of the planet, all of this intrinsically is part, let us say, of this code, this matrix that X represents. X also works with inner healing in the sense of rehabilitating the consciousness in this complex time of humanity so that it may not only experience a process of liberation but also collaborate from this awakening with that which is happening on the planet. Naturally, we are before something abstract, piece of information that is proved, current science. There are many manifestations that can be related with great devas, hierarchy, states of consciousness, and all of this, but it's not a science that can be proved under the criteria of current science. This center exists in the supraphysical planes for more than 20,000 years, so it's mature. It knows deeply the human process, including even some of its representatives and inhabitants have been on the surface, so they know how the human condition works under the pressure of purification and the positive pressure of inner awakening. One of the points that favors very much the approaching of the center so that we may much more than having the reference of others with X is our reflecting how our curiosity is against our need to know. How we look for a place like this, when we look for, are we curious or do we deeply need to know something? So I feel like bringing this question because it's something important. Curiosity is a characteristic, to say in some way, of the consciousness that is polarized in this three-dimensional world, the mental or emotional plane, which is something very superficial. I have curiosity to know a little bit more what these retreat centers, these lights are. This is curiosity, but if I have need to know, if I have a connection with this, if this translates me, if it translates to me an impulse that leads me to transformation, this is related to some sort of commitment that I have with the evolutionary plan. For some reason, this is in contact with me. I'm coming to know something, it's bringing some sort of higher impulse. For this information, this knowledge may grant me the expansion of my consciousness, and in this way I may be able to assume my role in this evolutionary plan on the planet and all of this as a consciousness. Another point that X works with us is to understand, accept, and collaborate on the process of our purification. in 1988, which was a very important year for humanity. Can you hear that? A very important year for humanity, because many higher laws began to project themselves or overlay themselves over the human and planetary laws that had been working with the planet before. One of the most important laws that entered at that moment is called the Law of the Cycles. Before 1988, humanity received an impulse. The sound is cutting a little bit. Every 25 years. In 1988, this begins to be every 3 months. So it's significantly dynamized. One thing is an impulse every 25 years, and now it's an impulse every 3 months. There is a lecture that I recorded that speaks of the cycles, the 4 cycles that begin during the year. And now I had thought about this. It's a coincidence that we are ending the end of the cycle of the new sowing from May 8th to August 8th. And August 8th is very important cycle, because when these seeds that have been sown will awaken and develop. So we are precisely at the end of the cycle. In a few days we'll be on August 8th, and something internal is happening. What is being sown is what corresponds to our degree of awakening, of surrender, and how much we are offering ourselves so that this may be concretized. This is sown by whom? By consciousnesses who accompany our evolution and naturally do this with the inner consent of our higher world, our soul, our guardian angel, the hierarchy that accompanies us, and those who we call the lords of the karma, who know our karmic map and avoid the least positive karmas and sow the best we can develop every August 8th. Another law that began very strongly for us to understand is called the law of purification. And it's a word that we hear and we take a step back because we are associated with suffering, with anguish, with anxiety, many things that the word purification could suscitate in us. But X grants us a way that is softer, to say in some way, for us to understand what this process is, and in this way we can have this hope, this message within us. As I was saying, we are refining in this lifetime or rediscovering something we have begun in other incarnations. We have experienced or gone through many stages on this path. But there are many situations that unavoidably we have to purify, especially at this moment of the planet, which is very much inhabited by evolutionary forces of chaos, of conflict, and all of this. This that is purifying in us is polarized. We all know what it is about. It makes a pressure in our etheric body, in our emotional body, and also on our mental body, and in some situations, even internally also. So X grants us a piece of information and impulse that when we are gradually purified, it's very important to gradually identify ourselves with the movement of our bodies. Not to be identified with mental positions, everything that emerges from our bodies, and try to look at with perspective. What is part of our consciousness? and what is a reaction of our body, something that is impulsive. The other one, as I was saying at the beginning, is the awakening and discovery of selflessness, which is self-giving without expecting anything in return. And this is to be present in our consciousness in some degree. It's not to be in some way to experience selflessness, but at this moment, how is the state of consciousness within myself? Do I have the intention of giving of myself, of being here without expecting anything in exchange? But I have rather than having an expectation, and when it doesn't correspond to my expectation, I begin to criticize in all of this. It's not the person who is here or the content itself, but the content itself and all of us together. But are we experiencing this self in a selfless way or in a selfish way? This is just a reflection. So this discovery of selflessness, according to X, is something that can soften purification in us very much. But purification will always inside and make pressure in our human resistance, or when we are before an inner impulse. According to X, also when we gradually remove obstacles so that something true may be built within us, we will also be collaborating on this process of purification. So during the lecture, I try to help those who are feeling sleepy, but who are distracted. How are we at this moment before the impulse? Because we will always be before the present moment. Our experience will always be at this present moment, not in the future or the past. Are we looking for something true through this condition that is created by everyone? Or we are here, so I'm here and I'm going just to listen to it? Because oftentimes we lose the opportunity of receiving a higher impulse just because we are not present. We are before a river, a bird, the sunset, or the beginning of the day, or I'm before someone else on the day to day, and our prejudice does not allow ourselves to look that which is true at this moment. And we remain in that which is superficial. We interact with others very mechanically. We speak. Oftentimes we don't even assimilate what is happening. I believe that 3 weeks ago, we were in a lecture in São Carlos, Brazil. We spoke about gaze and how gaze communicates, how we are able to understand many things of ourselves and others. Every time we have this purity in our gaze and we don't project our prejudice on others, my filter, and not be there superficially, but entire, so that at that moment, because who knows, this moment could be the last, we don't know. Maybe it may be the last one with someone. I only meet someone in this incarnation once, and maybe it's the only opportunity before this consciousness of resolving something or sharing something. If I lose something, we lose together. That's it. But when we are present and attentive, we identify when something important is happening, and we can eventually extract something that is evolutionary and transformative for our evolutionary process. Let us now speak of these 3 requests of Trigueirinho, which are important as a message of hope, because eventually they are filled with many laws that he spontaneously and intuitively offered to open a path to all of humanity. This book, Signs of Contact, is a public work. It was published more than around 40 years ago, I believe. So the first request, that I would never cease to be accepted for the service to the evolutionary plan. When we are in this simple offering before life in the universe, without recognizing our smallness, one of the meanings of self-pity is to recognize that we are just a grain in a chain of consciousness and expressions that are much broader. So when we recognize this in humility, that we should not cease to be accepted, we are not forcing a situation, but we are humbly recognizing that I could not be accepted for service to the plan. I'm not considering myself ready for this. Do you understand? There is a lot of humility here, and this is a message of hope for all of us. For these aspects that are tied to pride, to selfishness, that cannot manage to perceive the proportion of their presence before creation. So this helps our consciousness to find their right place and place ourselves eventually at this last place, this humble place in offering, in opening, feeling that the universe may use us and count on us every time it corresponds to us, but coming from this principle of humility, that we could cease to be accepted for the service to the plan. The second says that all those who walk the path with me might evolve together. Well, here we are dealing with deep understanding of karmic bonds, which generally we do not consider. And this time, it was a considerable opening. This second request was very important, is that the processes are group processes. We can clearly understand those who are looking for this with certain depth can understand that this is connected to a group. And eventually, this is not the external group we are connected out here. It could be with a karmic group here, but our true group is an internal group. And for many, this could go to many places, but we'll stop here because it would bring another sharing, another lecture. We have karmic links, and when he says that everyone who walked the path with me might evolve together, he's affirming, stating that everything I do of service, of expansion may enter through the same door. Is it clear? This is for humanity. So this was not only the request of Trigueirinho at that moment together with Saruma, but this was to leave this to us here. If we have this aspiration that every being connected with us may receive directly or indirectly all the benefits or graces we may receive through our steps, if we all did this, the group would be much more harmonious. So I should not only think of my process, my path, but what I'm doing, it keeps the door open and allows others to enter through the same doorway. So at the end of cycles, the doors of our very open. So this is a very important key that Trigueirinho shared with us. Why? Because oftentimes our karma does not allow us to take a step. For some reason we are blocked. But suddenly maybe someone in our group manages and they have a karmic openness to take the step, and we go together.
Pegamos uma dedo, quando eu passo
Say,
pelo outro,
as they say, we
parte
take a
modéstia,
lift and we go
mas se diz
together.
por acá, creio que não se diz assim.
I don't know if it works as we say this in Brazil.
Eu passo del outro,
We enter someone else's step, and we are benefited in some way, to say it's in some way. Because maybe I don't have this karmic opening at this moment. So this is very important. This is a book called The Book of the Signs, which speaks of the process of the books, of the process of the groups, that everything that I do is projected on the group consciousness. And what each member of this group is doing, does, reflects on the entire group. Karmically, the group is taking a step, and maybe I have the opportunity also, even if I'm not karmically ready for this, or at the moment for this. Something important that is also reflected in this offering of the Gueirinho is that even if someone else who is not at the same point as myself had the same opportunity, they would be reflected on the group connected with them. This is very important. Maybe someone by themselves, through their limit of consciousness, could not know some realities, but through this step, this request, as a blessing, a spiritual blessing. Okay. In truth, the work of humanity today, we know more than 35, 40 retreats, began with X. So piece of information of a small group is becoming public to all of humanity. So in my understanding, this is the result of the response of the universe to this request, that everyone had the opportunity. Perhaps I wouldn't have this opportunity individually due to my karma, but the consciousness of this hierarchy opened this door and opened for all of us to be under the same impulse. This is something very important, and we have to be very grateful for this. And to conclude, the third request is that the light and love of the cosmic beings might always be present whenever I may be found working for the plan. This is important because nowadays we live so many interferences in the astral plane and the mental plane. Generally, these interferences mix very much with our human states, and it's very complex to manifest something that is relatively pure or that comes from a higher sphere. As he says that the light and love of cosmic beings might always be present. This is to say, every time we offer our lives under the given the due proportions, this is important because this is affirming that every time we are serving the plan, the blessing of these cosmic beings might be present also. This was important not only for him, who left a legacy to all of humanity, but for all those who would open this door and they would have this. So I understand that this is an important message of hope. It's in the book Signs of Contact. Those who want, you have the link on the chat. And I ask you also to leave a link of something that Saruma says, and Trigueirinho speaks about this process of X. Those who are, you can find this in this link in the sharing, the lecture. So to crown this reflection and creative work of the choirs The work of arts is very important. It's an aspiration of X, a center that works the essence, the form, that everyone that comes from a higher level can materialize themselves through a process. Music is a process, a constructive process. Devas get the vibration and remodel, rebuild many things through it. Maybe it's not even here. It goes through the ethers and collaborates with harmony, a planetary balance. So invite everyone who are online to accompany this moment of harmony, of acts. They will sing some songs, some attributes, and the attribute number 7, the path, on the path to civilizations. It says collaborate for the elevation of the vibrations of the planet. Then on the path to the cosmos, number 8, which says commune with the love that God loves everyone. And then on the path to the inner world, number 4, hear the voice and unite with its melodies. Then we have 3 mantras in Irdin, the mantra Emuren Emureike, then the mantra Urushanti, then the mantra Wamanaika Shiminika. So we invite you all who are online to stay there, wait for a few seconds, and please go to your work, and Stefan. And then we'll be back soon to close the lecture. Thank you.
Shanti Narawa Urusan Waru Sarigantu Narawama Iti Shanti Nauru Uru Shanti Narawa Urusan Waru Sarigantu
She
Bueno, gracias a todos por las voces
Thank you all
de sus seres.
for the giving of your beings and those who are online.
Podemos hacer otras veces eso, ¿no? Vemos la fuerza
Maybe we
cósmica,
can have these other times for the
vibración humana,
strength we may have, the
unida
human
seguramente,
vibration united
especialmente o
for
retiro
sure,
de Earth,
especially the
con
retreat
esse impulso
with
de
the
amor e de
retreat of
despertar,
X, with all
que
this
levamos para
impulse of
nossas
love and
noites, que sean
awakening.
noites de paz,
Let us carry
de
this
despertar,
to
de
our
espírito, de
nights,
gratidão.
may they be nights of peace,
Muchas gracias a todos.
awakening, and especially gratitude. Thank you all.